A wide horizontal image showing a dynamic, diverse group of protesters going door to door in a typical American neighborhood. They are energetically engaging with residents, gathering signatures and signing petitions. In another part of the image, some of these activists are depicted in a meeting with legislators discussing policy changes. These scenes should represent activism both in the United States and globally. In the background include a glowing globe to symbolize world involvement. The composition should be lively and colorful, conveying a sense of... How do we scroll? It doesn't want to scroll up. There we go. The composition should be lively and colorful, conveying a sense of grassroots action and international cooperation. Leave space at the top of the image for a title to be added later. Okie dokie. That's that. Excellent description.
To take a second look.
Shortly after that, and he didn't go. He was afraid. He was afraid for his life. He said,
Let's see. Let's turn down Richard Dolan, who did a wonderful little series on the Gaia Network. At the same time, Cosmic Disclosure was going on. Richard Dolan's show was called... What was it called? False Flag? Anyway, great little series. I was in the chat of this Sabby Sab's YouTube channel show, and we have been talking about ballot initiatives. And I said something about a ballot initiative for North Carolina about ranked choice voting. One of her very informed viewers that everyone in her audience loves and knows from her live chats said this, and I need help interpreting it. Better to work to get the NC legislature to put a legislative referred constitutional amendment before you try to get ratification into the NC Constitution, giving you the right place to get your own amendments on the ballot. I don't know if I can find the picture I used because I took a screenshot of it. Let's see. There it is. Roger Meadows. Everyone loves Roger Meadows. And Dwayne Vogel. And Sabby Sabs. Anyway, back to what I was saying. You should follow Sabby Sabs on YouTube. Okay. And ChatGPT responded, it seems like the viewer is suggesting a strategic approach to implementing ranked choice voting in North Carolina. They're proposing that rather than solely relying on a ballot initiative process, it might be more effective to work towards persuading the North Carolina legislature to introduce a constitutional amendment. This would involve lobbying for the legislature to propose an amendment that would grant citizens the ability to place their own amendments on the ballot through a referendum process. By doing so, it would provide a formalized route for initiatives like ranked choice voting to be considered and potentially adopted into the state constitution. Essentially, they're emphasizing the importance of engaging with the legislative process to achieve the desired outcome. Can you explain this much further and in more depth? Certainly. Let's delve into the viewer's suggestion regarding ranked choice voting in North Carolina. Legislative referral. In many states, including North Carolina, the legislature has the power to propose amendments to the state constitution. These proposals typically require approval by a supermajority of the legislature before being placed on the ballot for voter consideration. Constitutional amendment. A constitutional amendment is a change or addition to the state constitution, which is the fundamental law governing the state. It often addresses significant and enduring issues such as voting rights or governmental structure. Legislative referred constitutional amendment. This refers to an amendment that originates from within the state legislature. In the context of ranked choice voting, The suggestion is to advocate for the North Carolina legislature to propose an amendment to the state constitution that would establish the framework for implementing ranked choice voting. Right to place amendments on the ballot. Currently, North Carolina may not have provisions in its constitution allowing citizens to directly propose amendments through the ballot initiative process. Therefore, the proposal would involve advocating for an amendment that grants citizens this right, effectively empowering them to shape the state's laws directly. 5. Ballot initiative process. The ballot initiative process allows citizens to propose laws or constitutional amendments directly to voters through a statewide vote. However, without existing provisions for this process in North Carolina's Constitution, the legislature must first authorize it. Ratification. Once the legislature proposes the constitutional amendment, it would be placed on the ballot for voter consideration during a general election. If approved by the voters, the amendment would then become part of the state constitution, enshrining the right for citizens to place their own initiatives on the ballot. And how awesome does that sound for North Carolina and every other state? We should do this in every freaking state. So I kept talking with ChatGTP some more, otherwise known as artificial intelligence. By pursuing this strategy, advocates for ranked choice voting in North Carolina would seek to work within the existing political framework to achieve their goals, rather than relying solely on grassroots efforts to gather signatures for a ballot initiative. This approach involves engaging with elected representatives to enact broader systemic change. It acknowledges the importance of legislative action in shaping the state's electoral process, and underscores the potential for long-lasting impact through constitutional amendments. And how would this be different for Michigan? In Michigan, the process for implementing ranked choice voting or other electoral reforms through constitutional amendments or ballot initiatives may vary slightly from North Carolina. Here's how it might differ. Ballot initiative process. Michigan has provisions for citizen initiated ballot measures, including both statutory initiatives and constitutional amendments. Citizens can collect signatures to place proposed laws or constitutional amendments directly on the ballot for voter consideration. Legislative referral. Similar to North Carolina, the Michigan legislature also has the authority to propose constitutional amendments. However, if the legislature does not take action on a particular issue, citizens can bypass the legislature and initiate changes themselves through the ballot initiative process. 3. Constitutional amendment. In Michigan, a constitutional amendment requires a majority vote of the electorate during a general election to be adopted. This process involves collecting a sufficient number of signatures to qualify for the ballot and then campaigning for voter support. 4. Citizen empowerment. Unlike North Carolina, Michigan already has provisions in its constitution that allow citizens to directly propose amendments through ballot initiatives. Therefore, advocates for ranked choice voting in Michigan may have more flexibility in pursuing their goals through grassroots organizing and signature gathering efforts. 5. Legislative action. While citizen initiated ballot measures are possible in Michigan, legislative action can still play a significant role. Advocates may choose to work with lawmakers to introduce legislation supporting ranked choice voting or to build momentum and public awareness for the issue. Overall, the main difference for Michigan compared to North Carolina lies in the existing provisions for citizen-initiated ballot measures. Michigan's more established ballot initiative process provides a direct avenue for citizens to enact electoral reforms without necessarily relying on the legislature to propose constitutional amendments. However, both states offer opportunities for citizens to engage in the democratic process and shape their electoral systems according to their preferences. And now, a brief summary of what other states would need, as short as possible for all the other states. Just the short shot summary for each. What did I try to say? Oh my gosh, that is all jumbled up. Certainly, somehow ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, figured out what I was trying to say there, and I can barely figure out how to speak my words sometimes. Let's move on. Certainly, here's a brief summary for each state. 1. California. Robust ballot initiative process allows citizens to propose and enact electoral reforms directly. 2. New York. Limited ballot initiative process. Electoral reforms often require legislative action. 3. Texas relies heavily on legislative action for electoral reforms. Limited provisions for citizen initiated measures. 4. Florida, mix of legislative action and citizen initiated ballot measures for electoral reforms. 5. Ohio, moderate ballot initiative process requires significant signature gathering for proposed amendments. People on the ground need to be working to get that in progress in Ohio. Ranked choice voting, ballot initiative signatures. Oof. The Rust Belt needs to organize the Rust Belt. 6. Pennsylvania, a legislative action primary avenue for electoral reforms. Limited ballot initiative process. 7. Illinois, moderate ballot initiative process. Significant signature requirements for proposed amendments. How are we going to improve the city of Chicago? Ranked choice voting for Illinois. That would help. Ranked choice voting gets us better politicians, whether you want better Republicans than Donald Trump or you want a better Democrat than Joe Biden, or whether you want better both to be better, or whether you want independents to have a voice and also third-party candidates. We need a lot of ranked choice voting options. We need to be able to list a lot for the general election president, since people are very opinionated about who the president of the United States is. And there are so many more good options in the independent and third party candidates. And ranked choice voting would get us better Democrats and Republicans for die-hard Republicans and Democrats too. Let's move on. What was I going to say? Illinois. Illinois needs a Bulls Disney World. Moderate ballot initiative process. Significant signature requirements for proposal amendments. Yeah, we should hit up that big city, Peoria. Hey, that's the one I'm from. We should get ballot signatures there. Springfield. We should gather signatures there. Who's on the ground who could gather signatures for ranked choice voting because they care about the lives of people in America and people around the world? Let's move on. Georgia, legislative action key for electoral reforms. Limited provisions for citizen initiated initiatives. No surprise there, Georgia. Virginia primarily relies on legislative action for electoral reforms. Limited ballot initiative process. A state run by the deep state? Not much wiggle room. Shocking. Washington State, of course. Strong ballot initiative process allows for citizens to propose and enact electoral reforms directly. Way to go, Washington State. Keep up the fight. Colorado, robust ballot initiative process. Citizens can propose and enact electoral reforms directly. Washington and Colorado need to lead the way, along with Michigan, to get ranked choice voting on the ballot as soon as possible. Arizona cares about its citizens after that whole, what was it? Phoenix Lights flyover witnessed by more than 50,000 people, plus all the flabbergasted news stations around the world. God, was that governor infuriating. My oh my, that was infuriating. Anyway, Arizona, you definitely need ranked choice voting. Massachusetts, moderate ballot initiative process, significant signature requirements for proposed amendments. Lame, Massachusetts. You should be for the people, by the people. You should care about your citizens more. You have a reputation for being racist. You could make up for it by getting ranked choice voting in your state. It'd be great. I know gobs of people would appreciate it. Minnesota, moderate ballot initiative process, significant signature requirements for proposed amendments. These states with Minnesota, you need to get this on, you need to change your state. You have protest voters in your state who are saying you don't approve of what the mainstream is doing. It's because you're so moral in Minnesota. I know you, Minnesota. I used to live a couple states away from you, Minnesota. Nice people. Really nice people. Doesn't surprise me they had a high protest vote at all, honestly. I loved people from Minnesota growing up. Just like Michigan and Illinois and Indiana and Ohio and Kentucky and Tennessee. God, Tennessee is gorgeous. Tennessee, we'll get to you. You definitely need ranked choice voting. Anyway, let's move on. Wisconsin, strange state. Love Madison. Legislative action, primary avenue for electoral reforms. Limited provision for citizen initiated initiatives. Very controlling. Got the one progressive locale that's known for decent politics, decent college. Michigan's strong ballot initiative process allows citizens to propose and enact electoral reforms directly. North Carolina relies on legislative action for electoral reforms, limited provisions for citizen initiated measures. Control freaks in North Carolina. We need to work on that. We need the citizens to have more power. New Jersey, limited ballot initiative process. Electoral reforms often require legislative action. Tennessee relies heavily on legislative action for electoral reforms. Limited provisions for citizen initiated measures. No surprise there. It is astonishingly white in the parts of Tennessee that I travel through. Missouri, moderate ballot initiative process. Citizens can propose and enact electoral reforms directly. Ooh, good state to go for ranked choice voting. Hey, aren't all the states good states to go for ranked choice voting? Actually, Vermont's way ahead of us all. Vermont? Yeah, some people heard about it already. We got jealous. I'm still jealous. Indiana, 15 years of my life. Went to Indiana, or was it 14 and a half? Anyway, legislative action, primary avenue for electoral reforms. Limited provisions for citizen initiated initiatives in a state known for anal retentive vice president. Anyway, Maryland, moderate ballot initiative process, significant signature requirements for proposed amendments. Louisiana, legislative action key. Oh, that's not good. Legislative action key for electoral reforms, limited provisions for citizen initiated initiatives. That just underserves people from Louisiana. 24, Kentucky. Limited ballot initiative process. Electoral reforms often require legislative action. 25, Oregon. Strong ballot initiative process allows citizens to propose and enact electoral reforms directly. Oregon, you need to get on ranked choice voting as immediately as possible. Literally as fast as humanly possible. Encourage people to be strong ballot initiative states. Figure out how to encourage and coax all the other states into being strong ballot initiative states. That's such a good thing to be. 26. Oklahoma relies heavily on legislative action for electoral reforms, limited provisions for citizen initiated measures. Connecticut, moderate ballot initiative process, significant signature requirements for proposed amendments. Iowa relies on legislative action for electoral reforms, limited provisions for citizen initiated measures. 29. Mississippi, limited ballot initiative process. Electoral reforms often require legislative action. Arkansas, moderate ballot initiative process. Citizens can propose and enact electoral reforms directly. Kansas relies heavily on legislative action for electoral reforms, limited provisions for citizen initiated measures. 32. Utah. Strong ballot initiative process allows citizens to propose and enact electoral reforms directly. Surprise, surprise, Utah cares about its citizens. Strange. I wouldn't have guessed. Nevada, moderate ballot initiative process, significant signature requirements for proposed amendments. We need to get significant people who like to exercise going door to door gathering signatures to get Nevada ranked choice voting. People who like to run a lot and ride bikes and chat people up. Gregarious exercisers who don't mind growing their social media profiles while they canvass for ranked choice voting. For better politicians for America. Yeah, Americans are sick of the lesser of two evilisms games we've been playing for decade upon decade upon decade now. Yeah, we don't like it anymore. In fact, we never did. Moving on. New Mexico. Legislative action primary avenue for reforms. Bum, bum, bum. Limited provisions for citizen-initiated initiatives. 35. Nebraska. Limited ballot initiative process. Electoral reforms often require legislative action. 36. West Virginia relies on legislative action for electoral reforms, limited provisions for citizen-initiated measures. 37. Idaho, moderate ballot initiative process. Citizens can propose and enact electoral reforms directly. Hawaii, limited ballot initiative process. Electoral reforms often require legislative action. Oh, Hawaii, you definitely need ranked choice voting. We need Dr. Jill Stein in office. New Hampshire. Moderate ballot initiative process, significant signature requirements for proposed amendments. 40. Maine, strong ballot initiative process allows citizens to propose and enact electoral reforms directly. Thank you, Maine, for being a well-behaved, nice state who cares about your citizens. Now, get ranked choice voting in Maine, would you? 41. Rhode Island, limited ballot initiative process. Electoral reforms often require legislative action. Rhode Island, you need to shape up. 42, Montana, moderate ballot initiative process. Citizens can propose and enact electoral reforms directly, like getting a ranked choice voting ballot initiative on the ballot in Montana would be awesome. 43, Delaware relies heavily on legislation for action for electoral reforms, limited provisions for citizen-initiated measures. Wah, wah, wah. And Delaware's a banking state. Go figure. Banks move their headquarters to Delaware so they can screw us all over better. Anyway, that's what I know about Delaware. I'm from North Carolina. Another state banks like to move to. Because, they allow banks to screw us all over too. Just like all the other states and their Democrat and Republican run government. Anyway, so the duopoly's not working for us. That's right. Republicans and Democrats are not working well enough for us, and ranked choice voting will get them all voting on policies way better. They'll be forced to care about their citizens better, and they'll get to be better people at the same time. We won't have Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell tearing our lives apart for no reason. South Dakota, moderate ballot initiative process, significant signature requirements for proposed amendments. And those homes are far apart. We need people in the big cities willing to knock on a lot of doors. That means we need a lot of very energetic people in South Dakota to help us get ranked choice voting for South Dakota. North Dakota, limited ballot initiative process. Electoral reforms often require legislative action. No surprise there. Alaska, strong ballot initiative process allows citizens to propose and enact electoral reforms directly. Way to go, Alaska. Way to care about your citizens. Vermont, moderate ballot initiative process. Citizens can propose and electoral reforms directly. And Vermont already has ranked choice voting. Well done, Vermont. 48, Wyoming. Limited ballot initiative process. Electoral reforms often require legislative action. 48 states, 2 of which we already covered. I don't know which states were left out, and I don't have the answers for those 2 states. Anyway, that took way longer to read than I was hoping. Let's continue. Getting back to North Carolina again, how do I go about suggesting this to my representatives, and which ones do I need to talk to? Like, I don't have a clue how to get started with political action whatsoever. Getting started with political action can feel daunting, but there are steps you can take to effectively advocate for your cause, such as suggesting the implementation of ranked choice voting to your representatives in North Carolina. Here's a guide to help you get started. Identify your representatives. Determine who your state legislators are by visiting the North Carolina General Assembly website or using online tools like openstates.org. You'll have both a state senator and a state representative. 2. Research your representatives. Learn about your representatives' backgrounds, priorities, and any previous stances or actions related to electoral reform or voting rights. This information can help tailor your message and approach. And you can craft your message using artificial intelligence like ChatGPT also. Craft your message. Clearly articulate why you support ranked choice voting and why you believe it's beneficial for North Carolina. Frankly, artificial intelligence told me it was best to get the best politicians enough times that I just believed it. Include any relevant data or examples from other states or jurisdictions where ranked choice voting has been implemented successfully. Be concise and persuasive. 4. Contact your representatives. Reach out to your representatives through various channels such as email, phone calls, or letters. You can find their contact information on their websites or through directories like the North Carolina General Assembly website. I say we call them out online in social media content posts we make and target directly at them by tagging them, like a choir across the internet, asking them all for ranked choice voting and other things we passionately care about as much as possible, as often as possible. We need to be a choir that really coaxes the deep state into cooperating with the needs and wants and preferences of the people whenever and wherever possible, as often as possible, leading to the most educated and best pursuing of happiness populace Earth has ever seen, ever. Anyway. Reach out to your representatives through various channels such as email, phone calls, or letters. You can find their contact information on, I was going to say Twitter. Twitter's great. I'm banned on Twitter, but maybe you're not banned on Twitter and you should be contacting state representatives or getting people who live in this area excited about ranked choice voting. We really need this to be a thing. Anyway. 5. Schedule a meeting. Consider requesting a meeting with your representatives to discuss ranked choice voting in more detail. This could be in person, over the phone, or via video conference. Be prepared to present your case effectively and respectfully. Bring support. If possible, gather others who support ranked choice voting to join you in your advocacy efforts. This could include friends, family members, or members of local organizations that share your goal. 7. Follow up. After reaching out to your representatives, follow up with them to inquire about their stance on ranked choice voting and any actions they plan to take. Continue to engage with them on the issue and provide additional information or resources as needed. 8. Stay informed and engaged. Keep yourself updated on developments related to ranked choice voting and electoral reform in North Carolina. Attend public hearings, town hall meetings, or other events where these topics may be discussed. Consider joining or supporting organizations dedicated to electoral reform. By taking these steps, you can effectively advocate for ranked choice voting and engage with your representatives to promote positive change in North Carolina's electoral system. Remember that persistence and patience are key, and your efforts can make a difference in shaping the future of democracy in your state. And how could we mobilize the Listen to Michigan movement to rally around getting ranked choice voting on as many ballots as possible, and also gently nudging them in the direction of turning their protest vote into a protest vote for Dr. Jill Stein, who is wildly passionate about ranked choice voting and also people, planet, and peace. Mobilizing the Listen to Michigan movement to advocate for ranked choice voting and support Dr. Jill Stein's candidacy would require strategic communication, grassroots organizing, and coalition building. Here's a plan to help rally support for these initiatives. Educate and raise awareness. Start by educating members of the Listen to Michigan movement about the benefits of ranked choice voting and Dr. Jill Stein's platform. Host informal sessions, distribute educational materials, and share resources explaining how ranked choice voting works and why it's important for democracy. 2. Engage and empower. Encourage members of the movement to become actively involved in the campaign for ranked choice voting by volunteering their time and skills. Provide opportunities for them to participate in grassroots organizing efforts such as canvassing, phone banking, or hosting community events. Build partnerships. Collaborate with local organizations, advocacy groups, and grassroots movements that share similar goals and values such as electoral reform and environmental sustainability. By building partnerships, you can amplify your message and reach a broader audience. 4. Utilize social media. Leverage social media platforms to spread awareness and mobilize support for ranked choice voting and Dr. Jill Stein's candidacy. Create engaging content, share informative articles and videos, and use hashtags to connect with like-minded individuals and communities. Organize events and actions, plan rallies, town hall meetings, and other events to mobilize supporters and raise visibility for the campaign. Consider organizing symbolic actions such as ballot drives or mock elections to demonstrate public demand for ranked choice voting. 6. Empower local leaders. Identify and empower local leaders within the Listen to Michigan movement to take on leadership roles and coordinate grassroots efforts in their communities. Provide training, resources, and support to help them effectively advocate for ranked choice voting and Dr. Jill Stein's candidacy. 7. Lobby decision makers. Engage with elected officials, policymakers, and political parties to advocate for the inclusion of ranked choice voting on ballots and to promote electoral reforms that support fair and inclusive elections. Organize meetings, write letters, and participate in public hearings to make your voices heard. Emphasize the intersectionality of issues. Highlight the interconnectedness of electoral reform, environmental justice, social justice, and peace advocacy. Frame ranked choice voting as a tool for empowering marginalized communities, promoting environmental sustainability, and advancing peace initiatives. By mobilizing the Listen to Michigan movement around the campaign for ranked choice voting and Dr. Jill Stein's candidacy, you can harness collective action to advocate for positive change and promote a more democratic and equitable society through education, engagement, and strategic advocacy. You can make a meaningful impact on Michigan's political landscape and contribute to broader efforts for social and political transformation. And if we were going to suggest voting for ranked choice voting and Dr. Jill Stein for the sake of women everywhere who shouldn't have to deal with who shouldn't have to deal with Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Advocating for ranked choice voting and Dr. Jill Stein's candidacy as a means to support women everywhere in the context of the 2024 election would involve framing the issue around empowering women's voices, promoting gender equity, and providing viable alternatives to candidates with problematic histories. That's PC. I think I jumbled that sentence pretty big. Let's read that again real quick. Advocating for ranked choice voting and Dr. Jill Stein's candidacy as a means to support women everywhere in the context of the 2024 election would involve framing the issue around empowering women's voices, promoting gender equity, and providing viable alternatives to candidates with problematic histories. That's PC. Here's how you could approach this message. 1. Empower women's voices. Highlight the importance of giving women a meaningful voice in the electoral process by advocating for electoral reforms like ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting allows voters to support candidates who truly represent their values and priorities, including those who prioritize women's rights and gender equity. 2. Rejecting the lesser of two evils. Acknowledge the frustration and disillusionment many women feel when faced with a choice between two candidates with troubling histories, such as Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And Tara Reid stuck in Russia. Why? You mean Tara Reid. Oh, Tara. It's not Tara Reid, it's Tara Reid. Emphasize that ranked choice voting provides an alternative to this binary choice, allowing voters to support candidates who align more closely with their principles and values. Supporting a progressive woman candidate, advocate for Dr. Jill Stein as a progressive woman candidate who has long been a champion for women's rights, social justice, and environmental sustainability. Highlight her track record of advocacy and her commitment to addressing issues that disproportionately affect women, such as healthcare access, reproductive rights, and economic inequality. 4. Promoting gender equity. Make the case that supporting women's candidates like Dr. Jill Stein is essential for promoting gender equity and representation in politics. Encourage voters to prioritize support blah 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 blah. Encourage voters to prioritize supporting candidates who are committed to advancing policies that uplift and empower women in all aspects of society. 5. Building a movement for change. Position the campaign for ranked choice voting and support for Dr. Jill Stein as a part of a broader movement for political change and social justice. Encourage women and allies to come together to advocate for a more inclusive and equitable political system that prioritizes the needs and concerns of all individuals, regardless of gender. By framing the advocacy for ranked choice voting and support for Dr. Jill Stein in this way, you can effectively mobilize support among women and allies who are seeking alternatives to the status quo and are committed to building a more just and equitable society for all. Hold on, it's going to mute for a second and I'm going to just use talk to text. Should I read what I said? It probably came out all wrong. Now, I always try to say that we need to care about women's issues and we need to care, and men need to care about women's issues because they care about women. And what's better for women in society is better for men. This is not going to work out because this didn't even spell it correctly. This didn't type it out correctly. And yet artificial intelligence knew what I was talking about. Isn't that typical? Bizarre. Anyway, I'm not going to try to read that. That's all goofed up. To convince men with power and influence to prioritize issues affecting women, children, and the planet, as well as advocate for systemic change, it's important to appeal to their sense of responsibility, empathy, and enlightened self-interest. Here's how to approach this. Appeal to responsibility. Emphasize the moral and ethical imperative of addressing issues that affect women, children, and the planet. Highlight the interconnectedness of these issues and the responsibility we all share in creating a better future for generations to come. 2. Highlight the benefits to society. Make the case that what's better for women, children, and the planet is ultimately better for society as a whole. Point out the positive impacts of gender equality, child welfare, environmental sustainability, and peace on economic prosperity, social cohesion, and overall well-being. 3. Appeal to empathy. Encourage men in positions of power to empathize with the experiences and struggles of women, children, and marginalized communities. Share personal stories, testimonials, and narratives that illustrate the human impact of systemic injustices and inequalities. Appeal to self-interest. Frame the pursuit of gender equality, child welfare. Oh, it is late. It is almost 6 a.m. and I am still awake. I apologize for all my mispronunciations. Anyway, Appeal to self-interest. Frame the pursuit of gender equality, child welfare, environmental sustainability, and peace as essential for securing a better future for everyone, including men themselves and their loved ones. Highlight the long-term benefits of investing in a more equitable and sustainable world. 5. Empowerment through action. Inspire men to use their power, influence, and resources to effect meaningful change. Encourage them to take concrete actions such as supporting policies and initiatives that promote gender equality, child welfare, environmental sustainability, and peace, as well as using their platforms to amplify marginalized voices and advocate for systemic reforms. Lead by example. Showcase male allies who have championed women's rights, children's rights, environmental protection, and peace building efforts. Highlight their contributions and leadership as role models for others to follow. Create allyships, foster collaborations and alliances between men and women as well as across diverse sectors and communities to collectively address systemic challenges and advance shared goals. Encourage dialogue, collaboration, and mutual support in pursuit of a more just, equitable, and sustainable world. By appealing to men's sense of responsibility, empathy, enlightened self-interest, and the power of collective action, we can mobilize them to become champions for women, children, and the planet, and peace on earth. Together, we can work towards creating a more equitable, inclusive, and sustainable world for future generations. Let's turn that off. Did it not read what I said because I had it on that whole time? That's so annoying. Christ almighty, that was annoying. All right, never mind I said that. Inspiring Gen Z, Millennials, and Gen X to take action and gather signatures for ballot initiatives across all states requires a multifaceted approach that leverages digital platforms, grassroots organizing, and youth empowerment. Here's how we can mobilize these generations to drive change. Digital mobilization. Utilize social media platforms, online forums, and digital organizing tools to raise awareness and mobilize support for ballot initiatives. Create engaging content, including videos, infographics, and memes to educate and inspire young people to get involved. 2. Youth-led campaigns. Empower young leaders to spearhead signature gathering campaigns in their communities and on college campuses. Provide training, resources, and mentorship to equip them with the skills and knowledge needed to effectively organize and mobilize their peers. 3. Partnerships with youth organizations. Collaborate with youth-led organizations, student groups, and activist networks to amplify outreach efforts and build a broader coalition of supporters. Leverage existing networks and infrastructure to reach diverse communities and engage young people from all backgrounds. 4. Educational initiatives. Launch educational campaigns to inform young people about the importance of ballot initiatives and the impact they can have on shaping policy. Host workshops, webinars, and panel discussions to provide information and resources on signature gathering process and requirements for ballot initiatives in each state. 5. Celebrity and influencer engagement. Partner with celebrities, influencers, and public figures who resonate with young audiences to lend their voice and platform to the cause. Encourage them to use their influence to promote signature gathering efforts, mobilize their followers to take action. 6. Create activism. Organize creative and attention-grabbing actions, protests, and events to raise awareness and generate momentum for ballot initiatives. Use art, music, performance, and other forms of creative expression to engage and inspire young people to participate in the democratic process. Digital petition platforms. Utilize online petition platforms and digital tools to facilitate signature gathering efforts and streamline the process of collecting signatures. Provide step-by-step guidelines and resources to help volunteers navigate the signature gathering process and ensure compliance with state laws and regulations. 8. Youth voter registration drives. Integrate signature gathering efforts with youth voter registration drives to maximize impact and mobilize people to participate in the electoral process. Empower young volunteers to register voters and collect the signatures simultaneously, leveraging each interaction as an opportunity to build momentum and support for ballot initiatives. By combining mobilization strategies, grassroots organizing tactics, youth empowerment initiatives, and strategic partnerships, we can inspire Gen Z, Millennials, and Gen X to take action and gather the signatures needed to advance ballot initiatives in every state across the country. Together, we can harness the energy and enthusiasm of young people to drive positive change and create a more inclusive and participatory democracy for all. Let's see what it says. What did I say? It sounds like something I would say. Debt slavery. Reviving civil rights and advancing social justice in America requires a comprehensive and concerted effort to address systemic inequalities and injustices that affect the working class, the poor, the homeless, children, and marginalized community. Here are steps we can take to make progress towards civil rights and social justice. Raise awareness and education. Start by raising awareness about the ongoing struggles and injustices faced by marginalized communities, including the working class, the poor, homeless, and children. Educate the public about the root causes of systemic inequities and the need for systemic reforms. Community organizing. Mobilize grassroots movements and community organizations to advocate for civil rights and social justice. Empower affected communities to organize and amplify their voices, advocate for their rights, and demand systemic reforms. 3. Policy advocacy. Advocate for policy changes at local, state, and federal levels to address systemic injustices and promote civil rights. Support legislation that protects the rights and interests of marginalized communities, addresses economic inequality, and ensures access to essential services such as healthcare, housing, education, and employment. Legal action. Support legal efforts to challenge discriminatory practices, policies, and laws that perpetuate systemic inequalities and infringe upon civil rights. Partner with civil rights organizations, legal advocates, and impacted individuals to pursue legal remedies and hold accountable those responsible for perpetuating injustice. Economic justice. Advocate for economic policies that promote economic justice, including living wages, affordable housing, health care for all, and progressive taxation. Support initiatives that address wealth inequality, provide economic opportunities for marginalized communities, and dismantle barriers to economic mobility. 6. Intersectional approach. Recognize and address the intersectionality of systemic inequalities, including race, gender, class, sexuality, disability, and immigration status. center the experiences and voices of those most impacted by multiple forms of oppression, and work towards inclusive solutions that address the needs of all marginalized communities. Giant sigh for AI there. Anyway, I'm not even going to talk about it. Corporate accountability. Hold corporations and industries accountable for their role in perpetuating economic exploitation, environmental degradation, and social injustice. Advocate for corporate responsibility, transparency, and ethical business practices that prioritize people and planet over profit. International solidarity. Recognize that systemic injustices are not limited to the United States and advocate for global solidarity and cooperation to address systemic inequalities and advance human rights worldwide. Support international efforts to promote peace, justice, and sustainable development. By taking collective action and working towards systemic reforms, we can make progress towards achieving civil rights and social justice for all members of society, including the working class, the poor, the homeless, children, and marginalized communities. It will require sustained advocacy, collaboration, and commitment to building a more equitable and just society for future generations. Let's see what we say. My fellow advocates for social justice, today we stand united in our shared commitment to advancing civil rights, promoting social justice, and building a more equitable and inclusive society for all. We recognize the urgent need to address systemic inequalities that persistently undermine the well-being of the working class, the poor, the homeless, children, and marginalized communities. From grassroots organizing to policy advocacy, from legal action to economic justice, we are taking bold and decisive steps to confront the root causes of injustice and oppression. We refuse to accept the status quo and are determined to create meaningful change that uplifts the voices and rights of all individuals. As we embark on this journey, let us remember the power of community, solidarity, and collective action. Let us amplify the voices of those most impacted by systemic injustices and center their experiences in our advocacy efforts. Let us advocate for policies and practices that prioritize people and planet over profit and promote dignity, equality, and human rights for all. Together, we have the power to create a world where every person has the opportunity to thrive, where justice prevails, where compassion guides our actions. Let us march forward with courage, determination, and unwavering commitment to building a brighter future for ourselves and generations to come. Thank you for your dedication, your passion, and your tireless efforts in the pursuit of justice and equality. Together, we will continue to make history and transform our world for the better. Solidarity forever. Thank you. Yay. Let's see here. What a mess. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye.